Hello, this is Andrew for CollectionDX.com, taking a look at everyone's favorite Decepticon Fatalist. This is Dead End as a part of Combiner Wars. And for now, he is the last of the 4 Stunticon limbs. Like his fellow Decepticons, he's about 5.5 inches tall, and as per usual, here's a comparison with Big Boss Man Motormaster and fellow teammate Off-Road here. So you can see they're all upsized pretty nicely. And focusing on Dead End himself for a bit, he kind of like Breakdown, he's got a more cartoony face and overall more animated inspired details like the chest plate and other various things. Now, one thing I want to get out of the way is my Dead End seems to be kind of loose, like his limbs just don't have the same tension as the other ones, which is a shame because I've seen a lot of people say this guy is pretty good, and the design, the mold feel fine, but I'm just not sure what happened here with my figure. But anyway, to get into articulation, he does have a ball-jointed head. He has a movable waist, which will become part of the elbow joint when he's an arm. His own arms they're actually a lot tighter than his hips here. These are just kind of loose and floppy. But you can see he's got ball-jointed shoulder. He's got a bicep swivel, although one weird thing is that he's actually got a weird angled cut on it just because of the way his arms are arranged here. And he's got pretty basic hinged elbow right there. Bends about that much. A weird thing, this isn't really part of his articulation, more for the transformation, is that his wrists actually have a plastic ratchet. So when they go in for car mode, you actually have to kind of force them in there. I'm not really sure why they did that with him, because none of the others do that. But yeah, so he has kind of a semi sort of wrist joint if you really just want to bring his hands in a little bit. Alright, so back below the waist you saw he's got ball jointed hips, he's got a thigh swivel right here. His knees are actually pretty good. You can get them bent back all the way like this, and also if you use part of his transformation joint here, you can actually get them just a little bit more kind of like that, but you're probably just going to keep this all together for robot mode. And other than his looseness, I mean, he stands pretty well. His feet are molded into kind of an A stance. So, you know, that's pretty good there. And he's just got the whole car part, or the whole front of the car on his back there, kind of like with Breakdown, similar to the old Scramble City version of him. So for accessories, he comes with probably everyone's favorite melee weapon, just an exhaust pipe. And you can totally just stick this in his hand. And you can go around whacking people with it. And it does actually have a peg so that you can stick it on his shoulder. This is probably more, this is really more for the car mode as a place to store it. But you could sort of use it as like, oh, it's a gun, but instead it kind of just looks like he's gonna, you know, use some drugs or something. Anyway, it's best to just kind of keep it like a melee weapon. So here's his version of the hand-foot gun thingy. And it's kind of a little double, triple blaster. Sextuple blaster? I don't know. And yeah, so the looseness with this figure kind of translates also to his hand pegs, because this really doesn't want to stay in. It's like super loose and floppy. And even the port on his shoulder is also kind of loose and floppy. So again, I don't really know what happened if I just maybe got a bad one. I ordered these straight off of Hasbro's toy shop, so I don't know. This mold is also being used for the upcoming Wild Rider / Breakneck. So if you want to have a more G1-y Menasor, that's what they're doing. And also, Wild Rider is replacing Off-Road as part of the Takara Tomy Unite Warriors version. And also, with a lot of heavy remolding, this guy is also going to be streetwise. The fact that he has so much remolding makes you think that he's probably going to be maybe tighter than dead end here, but again, this might just be my copy. Alright, so anyways, let's take a look at dead end as an arm. So dead end's conversion process is a step below breakdowns in terms of complexity, but he's still trying to evoke the general feel of the original G1 toy. So to start off, you're just going to flip in his hands, and you're going to lift up this front part of his chest here, kind of his mecha bib thing here, and also bring up the back of the car. And these are kind of all together on this hinge assembly here. And then you're just going to basically flip this forward as if you're going into car mode. And this is all going to just chill out on his back, just like this. There's a little double hinge right here that's kind of a little tight this way, so it'll actually stay locked in place. Now, his own upper arms, what's going to happen is there's actually a little tab right near his hands where they store for this mode, and there's a slot right here. So you're just going to line up the slot with the tab. It doesn't actually really stay in there, but you just kind of leave them right there, and they kind of chill out for the most part. And then you extend the combiner joint, and this will be how he's oriented as an arm. So right here, this is where you're going to plug in the hand thingy and just bring it out and bring it forward. And you can see it actually has its own little slot in there. It's going to all tab into the side. And you just bring this all together, and you got yourself a forearm. And obviously you need to top it off with the hand itself. And again, with my figure, this is all kind of loose. I mean, this is sort of okay, but it does go in and out a lot easier than on the other guys. So be aware of that if your dead end is also loose. And I'll just stick him into Motor Master as the Menasor torso here. Let's keep that all locked together. And here we go. We've got dead end as an arm. Again, he's kind of got the same range of articulation. His arms kind of stay out of the way of hitting into Motor Master's own shoulders there. And other than the fact that he's loose, he's a pretty good arm. I mean, he's got probably the deepest elbow curl of all of them. And of course, you know, the nice free-moving waist as an as a bicep swivel right here. So other than him just not being up to the same quality as the rest, you know, he's still got the same engineering. So again, if your dead end is fine, I'm sure this is going to be a lot better. For me, I think using him as an arm is okay, just as long as you don't put anything in the hand right there. And again, you can see he's got the moving fingers and moving thumb thing, and it sort of opens up too. So yeah, that is dead end as an arm. And let's go to foot mode. And as with the rest of the Sonicon limbs, turning dead end into a foot basically means going almost all the way into car mode. So to start off, just take off the hand-foot gun thing. And this is where he starts to emulate his original toy a bit. You're going to flip out these panels on the side here. And also while you're doing that, just to flip this up, because that's where it's going to be oriented in car mode. Bring this whole thing around, and you kind of saw I also turned his hips around so that his groin is facing the top part of the car. And then what you can do is stick down his arms like that, and just close all this around. Just make sure everything's lined up. Just kind of close all this around itself, and there's also little tabs there to make sure everything stays lined up. Bring the combiner joint up and just kind of fiddle with this thing so it looks nice. And then stick the combiner bit in as a foot. Now you're going to notice here again with the whole quality control thing, the parts or the outer panels of the rear of the car, they're not quite closing as tightly as they should. Actually, when I got this figure, I noticed there was some excess plastic in this area around the tail lights, so I actually just kind of sanded that off. I don't know what's going on here. I feel like other people's dead ends haven't been this wonky, but you know, he is staying together. It's just that you can tell this is supposed to be closed a lot more tightly. So anyway, I'm going to bring out Motormaster here and plug in dead end as a foot, or a lower leg I should say. And so you can see he's pretty much the same as the other guys. The edges here do kind of catch a little bit on Motormaster's feet, so just sort of be aware of that. And one of the problems with this whole thing being a little looser is that he's not quite as good at being a you know, the whole lower leg with the ankle just being loose like that. I mean, he will stand perfectly fine, but I kind of prefer using him as an arm just because with the state that mine's in, he's not too good for load bearing the entire combiner. But anyways, let's finish this off with a look at vehicle mode. So we're pretty much done with looking at dead end, because all you need to do to finish him off in car mode is flip down the combiner joint and then just bring all this down so that it will lock in place for the front of the car, and obviously put that aside. Now with this part, you just kind of fiddle it in. There's actually a pair of tabs on either side that are going to go into the main body of the car, and then you just bring this down. And you want to just make sure everything is kind of nice and neatly aligned, and that this big hinge on his chest plate here is going against the top part of his body right there. Because you don't want it sticking out too much, otherwise he won't be able to roll quite as well. And so you can see he works alright. Again, because this isn't really closing as it should, the parts of his feet right here are kind of sticking out a little too far, so it's kind of making his back wheels not move. But you can see everything does move nicely on him, and he's kind of a Porsche looking thing. Not quite what he was back in the G1 days, but pretty decent car overall. And also this will be both Wild Rider / Breakneck. That's kind of a funny name. And with a lot of heady mods, he will be also streetwise. So that's this. You can take the exhaust pipe weapon and just peg it in on either side, and it looks alright there. That's probably the best place you want to put something like that anyway, because if you stick it off in the back here, it's just kind of goofy. But I keep doing that for some reason. And his hand-foot gun thingy does peg in at the top, and this connection's actually kind of okay. Not quite as good on like any of these though. That's like super loose there. So yeah, now you've got him in his attack mode. He's a pretty nice car. I mean, other than the quality control issues on mine, you know, he looks the part, and he feels like a nice solid plaything. So we're going to end it with another comparison shot between him and some of his fellow Stunticons, as I did with the other reviews. So here's Motormaster and Off-Road with Dead End in the middle. They're looking pretty good. I wish I could be more gung-ho about Dead End. Again, if mine's just a bum toy, then that's my problem. Otherwise, you know, he fills a spot on your team, and he completes the Stunticons as they are now. We'll have to see how the upcoming Breakneck / Wild Rider looks with the team. And for those following these videos as they go up, the next review is going to be Motormaster himself with the final combiner Menasor. Alright, this has been Andrew from CollectionDX.com, having some fun with the Decepticon bad boys.